Alright, now let's discuss. It is all about the four classifications of sounds in English language. So they are the following: vowels, diphthongs, schwa, and consonants. So now let's first discuss. It is all about the vowels. Vowels is a speech sound made by allowing breath flow through your mouth without any closing part of our mouth and our throat. The lips the lips should be the lips should be moved to create a correct sound. Like just for example, let's have an example. Like the words can. The words can, the vowels or the letters that make sounds there is between A and E. So understand? So example number 2, let's have the words let and bet. So let and bet, the, the sounds or the letters that makes sounds there, the vowels rather, or the letters that make sounds there is letter E. So understand? So let's proceed to number 2. Number 2, the classifications of number 2 is what we call diphthongs. So diphthongs, it is composed of two vowels joined in one syllable to form speech word. Like just for example, the words tight and light. So these two words, the vowels or the sounds that makes sounds there is A, between A and I, tight and light. So another example is, let's have mouse and sound. So mouse and sound, the letters or the vowels that make sounds there is between A and U. This vowels is joined together in one syllable to form one speech sound. So now let's proceed to number 3. Number 3 is that it is what we call the three classifications of, it is what we call schwa. Schwa, it is the reduced vowel sound, and it is the most common vowel sound in the spoken English. It is quick, relaxed, neutral vowel pronunciation. Let's just have an example. So the words cup. So cup, the the letters or the vowels that make sounds there is letter A. Let's have another example is the words club. The words club, the sounds or the letters or vowels that make sounds there is letter A also. Alright. When we base between two words, it is just a quick words or relax and neutral, isn't it? Alright. Now let's proceed to number 4. The 4 classification is what we call the consonants. Consonants, it is the speech sound produced by the blocking air flow of by blocking the flow of air through the mouth using lips, teeth, tongue, and palate. Let's have an example. The words say, pay, and may. So the consonant or the letters that make sounds there is letter S. And another example is pay. Pay, the consonants or the letters that make sounds there is letter P. And another is may. The consonants or the letters that make sounds here is letter M. Alright. So those are the 4 classifications of sound in English. Alright, now guys, let's discuss. It is all about the manners of articulation. So these consonant sounds are generally categorized as either voice or voiceless. So they are classified as stop, fricatives, affricates, liquids, glides, and nasals. So now, let's first discuss. It is all about the stop. So stop, it is the consonant produced when the vocal tract is closed completely and the air quickly builds up pressure behind articulators then releases in a burst. Otherwise, it is also called as plosives. So let's have an example. So first example is pulse and tap. So the two words, the sounds or the consonants that make sounds there is letter P. Right? So let's have second example, pack and cup. So pack and cup, it is the two words, the sounds or the consonants that make sounds there is letter P also. So now let's proceed to number 2, which is the nasal consonants. So nasal consonants are created when you completely block air flow through your mouth and let the air pass through your nose. Like, like just for example, the words mud and clam. So the word mud and clam, the sounds or the letters that make the consonant rather or the letters that make sounds there is letter M. They are both the same. So second example is do and sad. The two words, the sounds or the letters that make sounds there or the consonants rather is letter D. So understood. So now let's proceed to number 3. Number 3 is what we call the fricative. Fricative, while nasal and stop consonants involve a completely blockage of the vocal tract, fricative sounds involve only a partial blockage of the vocal tract so that the air has to be forced through a narrow channel. Like, let's have an example. Like the words fro and calf. So the words fro and calf, the letters or the consonants that make sounds there is letter F. So understand? So let's have another example. Vine and hub. So vine and hub, the consonants or the letters that make sounds there is letter V. Alright, so now let's proceed to number 4. Number 4 is what we call affricates. Affricates, when stop consonant mix with fricative consonants, the result is affricate consonants. So affricate consonant is a consonant starts as stop sounds with air building up behind an articulator which then releases through a narrow channel as a fricative also. So let's have an example. The words peaked and butts. So the words peak and butts, the sounds or the consonants that makes there is or this has a sounds there is letter T. So let's have words peaked and butts. Get it? So let's have another example. The words clicked and cuts. So the words click and cuts, it is also the sounds or the consonants that make sounds there also is letter T. Alright. So now let's have number 5. That's what we call liquids. Liquids in a phonetics, a consonant sound in which the tongue produces a partial dosure resulting in a resonant vowel like consonants such as I and R. Like just for example, let's have one example. Right and roll. So right and roll, the consonants or the letters that makes between two words is letter R. Alright, so now let's have another example. Another example is the words lock. The words lock, the consonants or the letters that make sounds there is letter L. Alright, now let's have number 6, the last classifications of the manners of articulations. it's what we call the glides. Glides, also known as semi-vowels. It is the sound produces a little obstructions of the airstream. So let's have an example. The word wine, wide, wet, and wise. Those four words is the same sounds also. Let's start with wine. Wine, the consonants or the letters that make sounds there is letter W. The wide also, wet and wise, it is all the same. It is both W. Alright. Alright, now let's discuss. It is all about the places of articulation. So, places of articulation, it is composed of 7 articulations such as bilabial, labiodental, dental, alveolar, palatal, velar, and glottal. So now let's first discuss or tackle. It is all about the bilabial. So bilabial, it is the articulators are two lips. We could say that the lower lips is the active articulator and the upper lip the passive articulator, though the upper lip usually moves to at least a little. English bilabial sounds include P, B, and M. So just see and try to observe. So letter P, B, and M, our upper lips usually moves to at least a liter, just to prove the sounds that we say is correct. Alright, now let's proceed to classification number 2. It is what we call the labiodental. Labiodental, the lower lip is the active articulator and the upper teeth are the passive articulator. English labiodental sounds include F and B. So that's the meaning of the labiodental, or our lower lips is the active articulator and the upper teeth are the passive. So now let's proceed to classification number 3. It is what we call dental. Dental sounds involve the upper teeth as the passive articulator. The active articulator may be either the tongue tip or usually the tongue blade. Diacritic symbols can be used if it matters, which extreme laminodental sounds are often called interdental. English interdental sounds include math and they. So it is the words that belongs to dental sounds, words math and they. So now let's discuss. It is all about the number 4 classification is what we call the alveolar. Alveolar, it is the sounds involved the alveolar ridge as a passive articulator may be either the tongue blade or usually the tongue tip. Diacritic symbols can be used if it matters, which English alveolar sounds include T, P, and S, G, L. So that's the possible sounds that we found in the alveolar sounds. So now let's know about the palatal, the 5 classifications of the places articulation. So palatal, the active articulator is the tongue, body, and passive articulator is the hand, palate. The English glide I is a palatal. So the words or the letters that may found here is letter I. It is included in the 5 classifications of places of articulations, what we call the palatal. So now let's know about the classifications number 6. It is what we call the velar. Velar, the active articulator is the tongue, body, and the passive articulator is the soft palate. English velars include K, G, and N. So those letters must belonging in the classifications of number 6, what we call the velar. The words, just kindly remember that the letter K, G, and N. Alright, so now let's proceed to classification number 7. It is what we call the glottal. Glottal sounds are made in the larynx. In the vocal cords are open but close enough together that air passing between them creates friction noise. Like just for example, like letter H. Just kindly observe the letter H. It is closely enough together that the air passing between them creates friction noise. H, the letter H. It is the main example of that example. Understand? Alright.